Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Fed Up, your No BS nutrition podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Marie, certified personal trainer and nutrition specialist, working with clients since 2014. After swimming up diet culture's bullshit stream for so many years, I am fed the absolute up with how miserable it's making people feel when we are supposed to be getting healthier. This podcast is here to help you gain your sanity back so you can stop yo-yoing once and for all and finally learn how to trust yourself so you can enjoy food again without fear or shame while still getting to your health goals. My aim is to teach you how to detect the BS in not just the food and diet industries, but in all realms of life, because I know that, like me, we are all just a little fed up. So without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Alrighty, friends, the holidays are here, and I wanted to talk about why it is so common that we tend to go balls to the wall these last 3 months of the year, and then we're going to fix it in January, and why we are breaking that cycle this year. So most people gain their 10 to 15 pounds of the year during these last 3 months of the year, and then come January 1st, we are, ready to get our health in check. And then we might even lose the weight that we gained, but then we end up regaining it throughout the year. And then next time you do this, the next year, we are even heavier. So you might gain 10 pounds the first year, and then now you're 20 pounds heavier. And then the cycle keeps repeating. So you either are cycling the same 10 to 20 pounds every year, or you end up 10 pounds heavier multiple years consecutively, right? So I'm going to talk about why this happens, and not just the metabolism part, because we do know that weight cycling, meaning losing weight, gaining weight, is pretty common, especially when we talk about why dieting doesn't work. Well, people regain it. Well, why do we regain it? Because we are usually dieting or doing things during our New Year's resolution that are not sustainable. We're really bad at setting goals and then being able to actually keep them up all year long. So that's the first point. The second point is, every time you do this, you are raising your set point. So your weight might be pretty happy at 160, and then you drop down to 140, and then next thing you know, now your new set point is 170, and then you drop down to 150, so you never get back to the 140s again. And then now next year, the set point is 175 or 180. And that's why we tend to get stuck a little bit, not just because we are doing things in unsustainable fashion, but also because your physiology will fight losing weight. And your body doesn't really know if you're like 150 or 180. I mean, it does, but it really doesn't. What it does know is it responds to weight loss by trying to prevent weight loss. And this is just a evolutionary benefit of being a human body, because losing weight means you are dying. It means you are not getting enough energy to sustain yourself. So that will send off all the mechanisms to want to eat more, want to conserve energy, and move less. You are fighting biology, not just quote unquote willpower. So during these last few months of the year, we are bombarded, with the environment of lots of sweets, lots of food, lots of dinner parties, lots of alcohol, lots of things that are not just okay, you can just stop eating, pumpkin pie. But we never really have a bunch of pies at a dinner party except for Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever holidays that you're celebrating. And then you end up going to multiple of these parties, right? You have Friendsgiving, you have your aunt's Thanksgiving, you have your parents' Thanksgiving, you have a Thanksgiving at work, you have a Thanksgiving at school. We are all celebrating every single week of Thanksgiving to Christmas, multiple times a week, a lot of times. So it's not that it's just one day for a lot of us. I mean, sometimes it is, but a lot of people are having multiple, quote unquote, Thanksgiving dinners or Christmas dinners, right? Or parties or whatever it may be. So oftentimes what we say is, F it. I'm just going to go to all my parties, eat as much as I want, drink as much as I want because the diet starts later. The diet starts January 1st. So I get this a lot because people don't want to hire a coach in November, December, right? Like, if I hire a coach, they're going to tell me to stop eating so much. They're going to tell me I can't have cupcakes. And like, I don't want to work out. It's cold and I have a party to go to later. So I'll just work out in January. This is where we get into trouble, friends. And there's nothing wrong with taking a few months to kind of chill, but like you also took, all of summer to chill and then all of fall to chill. And then now you're at the point where you're like, well, it's just too late. I'll start in January. And then you start in January and it only lasts for 1 to 2 to 3 months, maybe. And then life gets crazy again, or life just happens. You get sick of it because you're like, well, I'm going to the gym every single day because you're trying to compensate for the months right now. So we're going to break this cycle, friends. We're going to stop doing this to ourselves. So what often happens is we'll starve ourselves all day long. We're going to save room for the dinner or the Christmas party. And then you end up completely overeating. And then you end up feeling guilty. So either you continue to sabotage by just overeating because screw it, diet starts later, or you're so hungry that you don't even get your fullness signals until you're overly stuffed. That happens. You also are bombarded with two opposing forces: the massive amount of pies and sweets and candy and treats and food in general, and the diet talk. Sugar is bad for me. I need to do a detox. I need to do a cleanse. That's going to start on January. Like these two opposite sides of the spectrum are just in your face that you end up again saying, well, F it. I'm just going to binge basically, or overeat, or just again go balls to the wall. And then Monday I'll be better. I'm just going to wait till the party ends and Monday I'll be better. Tuesday I'll be better. Wednesday I'll be better. Thursday, okay, I had a party at work. Friday I'm going out with coworkers for drinks. Saturday I have to go to my grandma's house. Then you just end up binging and restricting all week long, which one is not good for your stress. And two is feeding more, no pun intended, but it's feeding more into this cycle of I'm just going to do whatever I want until the diet starts later. And that mentality of all or nothing is why diets don't work, regardless of if you try and do it in November, December, or if you're trying to do it in the middle of July. So it's also colder, usually, depending on where you are. The days are shorter, it's darker, and guess what? We're just animals. So you are naturally going to want to eat more and move less because we're getting ready to hibernate. It's cold. We need some fluff on our bones. And it's dark. I don't want to go out and move my body. I'm not going to go for a walk in the evening because it's dark at 4 p.m. So you are naturally going to be wanting to eat more. And then we bombard you with all the dinner parties and all the good food that you never get the rest of the year, right? There are special edition everything during the holidays, plus all of the socializing, the alcohol, the sweets. We are bombarded with it. And you have a natural tendency to want to eat more and move less during the winter months. It is normal. I want to just normalize that for you for a moment. You're not, broken. There's nothing wrong with you. We are also given a lot of variety and a lot of novelty, or again, you only get certain things one time a year. And when you are given variety of food, you will naturally eat more. You will eat more when there's a buffet, there's a big old potluck, everyone bought all the different types of foods. You're going to want to eat more and try a little bit of everything. And when do we get that at home? You're just going to make a couple of things for dinner or even just one thing, right? So again, it is normal physiologically, biology, as well as mentally, to want to eat more during this time. So here are some tips. I want you to continue to eat regularly. I want you to eat breakfast. Stop skipping breakfast because everything usually happens later in the evening or at dinner. So when you skip breakfast, you are going to have more cravings and your ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, naturally increases throughout the day. That's why you're not always hungry the first time you wake up. But if you are eating breakfast and lunch and eating you're not just saving calories for later, you are less likely to overeat later. And you could just eat a normal amount of food and maybe a little bit extra because granted, you want to eat a lot more. That's normal. You might be a little stuffed, but when you skip breakfast or when you're skipping lunch because you're trying to save your calories, it backfires. Stop doing that to yourself. And if you don't eat till 4 p.m., like you're going to have like 3,000, 4,000 calories in one sitting, and then you feel guilty. And then you're like, oh, I guess, I'm not going to eat it all tomorrow. And then this cycle repeats itself. So stop doing that. And another thing is we want to eat slowly, mindfully. Don't just I see this all the time. I can tell who's been starving themselves all day because as soon as the food hits the counter or is ready, they're like a freaking dog to a bone. They're like, oh my God, we gotta eat. So their mouth is they literally become a rabid dog. And then they're eating so fast, just over their plate. They hyper focus. They're not paying attention to any conversation around them. It's just because you starved yourself all day or all week even, and you haven't allowed yourself any cookies or anything, until the cookies are all in front of you, and then you have freaking 20 of them. Well, guess what? If you had breakfast and had lunch, and then you just make yourself a plate, it might be a little more food than you normally eat, and then you just eat slowly, and you enjoy the textures, you enjoy the taste, you enjoy the social interactions as much as possible. This is how we make sure that we're not overly eating to the point where you feel literally sick. And then the next day you restrict and starve yourself again because you feel so bad about it. So sit down to eat, make yourself a plate, get enough to eat. Or go back for seconds. But when you're eating mindfully and slowly, you can tell when you're getting a little bit or a little bit full. And you might actually say no to that third slice of pie because you're full. And then you realize, actually, I get pie anytime, I don't need to eat it now because I'll never allow myself pie again. And this is, again, this black or white thinking that a lot of times we have is, I've got to eat all of this because I never allow myself sweets ever, or January 1st is coming up and then I'm not allowed to have any of this because I got to start my diet. Then you're going to eat more pie because now it's scarce. And naturally, your brain and your body is eat it all now because you're not going to get it again. So when you allow yourself to slow down a bit, when you realize, I can actually make pumpkin pie any time of the year, I will get more pumpkin pie next week. It's not the end of the world. I can split a slice with somebody because I just want to taste it, but I don't really need or want an entire, size Costco pie to myself because I'm not restricted. And the only thing that leads, by the way, to binging and cravings is restriction, whether physiologically, you're physically hungry and then you have cravings and you have a binge cycle, or mentally restricting. So say you do allow yourself the pie, but mentally you don't. You're I shouldn't be eating this. The diet starts Monday. You will again have more craving for that food in anticipation of not being able to have it. Again, you are just an animal, and they've shown this in animal and people studies, but eat slowly, mindfully. And eating mindfully does not mean that you have these rules for yourself that you don't even want to keep. So some people misinterpret that well, I'm just being mindful. I'm going to have all the greens and I'm going to make sure I have a big salad before I have the rest of the stuff. Or I'm going to only eat savory food and I have to eat, real food, quote unquote. By the way, that doesn't mean anything, especially if you're telling children that. If you're well, you've got to eat real food before you have your dessert. Kids are well, what do you mean real food? Is this fake food? Having a rule of savory before sweet, you are also more likely to overeat the sweet. So being able to have a regular plate of food with your turkey and your ham and your stuffing and all the things with pie at the same time, you will probably actually eat a little bit less of the pie. Or again, I know pie usually comes after the main meal. That is fine. There might be 6 different types of pies, right? You want to try all of them. There's a way to be able to be mindful without feeling sick and without having a rule of, well, I only get one slice of pie. I only get one slice of pie. Like, it's a mental thing a lot of times. And it can be really tricky to determine the line of being mindful and having rules for yourself. So that's a little tricky, but it is possible. Another tip that I'll give you is try to keep your fiber up. You're probably going to be getting enough protein, enough carbs with all your holiday meals, right? But fiber can be lacking. And even if you have to include like a supplement like Benefiber, or you're making sure that you're eating beans and vegetables for lunch, or you have your oats and your fruit for breakfast. Like, when you have enough fiber, you're going to be pooping good. You're not going to be as bloated after you eat because you just don't have any fiber to help pass things along. And yeah, okay, have some greens with your meal, right? Usually there's a salad or some broccoli or something. Sometimes not. It's all beige, as one of my clients says. He kind of jokes about, I don't really love Thanksgiving because everything's so beige. Beige food is good food, okay? Get over yourself. But no, I think that there's a benefit to having vegetables, but if you have vegetables and fruit and beans and whole grains earlier in the day, it's not a big deal if you don't get it for dinner, right? Again, it's not like you eat like this all the time. It's okay to have a meal without any green sometimes. That's okay. But if you're making sure to eat your greens throughout the week, you're probably fine. Another thing is alcohol. This is where a lot of the calories come from. And then again, people just get a little crazy at holiday parties. They're letting loose, right? It makes sense. But if you can keep track of your alcoholic drinks, 1, 2, 3 per night, you're drinking water in between, you're not getting sloppy drunk or just trying to drink to get drunk, you're actually enjoying a glass of wine with your meal, that's going to be a lot more beneficial than just drinking to get drunk, and then you don't even remember what you ate and you just end up eating everything because you're drunk. And again, alcohol is going to lower the inhibition, and some people drink in order to deal with the fact that they're going to be eating a lot of food, and they have to quiet the diet talk in their minds, or to deal with your family or your friends or whatever it may be. You're drinking to deal with the social anxiety of eating in front of people. So let me just drink so I'm inebriated and I'm not thinking about how I look and I'm not thinking about, how much I'm eating. Be a little mindful of that, because that's where you're going to downward spiral, and then you just feel like crap for days. Come on. And I get it. You're going to drink a little bit more. You're going to eat a little bit more. But if you can be a little more mindful about it, when they talk about empty calories, it's not pie, it's alcohol. Alcohol is the 4th macronutrient that provides calories, but it actually doesn't provide any nutritive value. So carbs and protein provide 4 calories per gram. Fat provides 9 calories per gram, and there's going to be other micronutrients like calcium and fiber and amino acids and things like that that your body uses. Alcohol provides 7 calories per gram with no nutrient in it. And your liver bypasses everything else that it needs to do in order to get rid of the ethanol. And the intermediate that your liver, to break down ethanol into CO2, acetate, things like that, in order that your body can use it and can excrete it, is acetaldehyde. And when acetaldehyde is in your system, even for the microseconds that it's in your system, it can bind to DNA and it can wreak havoc. That is what is the toxic component to ethanol. It's the intermediate acetaldehyde. And when you have a buildup of acetaldehyde-tase, or the enzyme that breaks it up, oh no. No. It does not like that. We have a mechanism to do this because your liver is get this poison out of here. But it has to break it down chemically, and the way that it does that is by producing this intermediate that is toxic. So if you're going to cut anything, don't cut Auntie's pie. Cut the alcohol, at least in half, or at least a little bit. You know what I mean? I get it. It's a holiday. Enjoy yourself. I'm not going to tell you to go sober, but we there are so many people that are like, well, I'll have an extra glass of wine instead of pie. The wine is worse for you than the pie. The frickin' beer and shots and things like that we do at holiday parties is way worse than just overeating a little bit of turkey and stuffing and bread rolls. And again, even the sweets and the pie. It is way worse for you to have fermented carbs, aka alcohol, than it is to have regular carbs. Don't listen to anybody who says differently. But I want you to catch these tricky things that happen, right? We starve ourselves all day, all week in order to make room or save room. Or sometimes we just get busy, right? Like if you're the cook in your family, like I know I can get this way. If I'm just prepping dinner, like, oh my God, I didn't even eat anything and I'm the one cooking all the food and now I'm feeling like crap. I'm moody. I'm irritable. The kids are screaming. Like if you just feed yourself, before the main meal, you'll feel a lot better. And catch your mindset of the diet starts Monday or I'm going to start New Year's. Stop that. Go to the gym even throughout the holidays. And yeah, you might not be as frequent or as intense or as quote unquote on point as you are at other points of the year. But when you just let it all fall to the wayside for 2-3 months and then you rebound and try to go hardcore in January, it always backfires. Always. And when you are trying to set up your New Year's resolutions, I will probably make another podcast about this, but a lot of people end up, again, you're compensating for the piece of shit you feel like you are the last few months of the year. So then you feel like you have to overcompensate. You go on a diet, you join a gym, you want to do 5 days a week, you got to do a cleanse or a detox because you just feel so heavy and sluggish. No, stop that. You also don't have to wait until January to go to the gym. Just go one time. Just take some walks after dinner. Like it doesn't matter if it's December or January. You should still be doing something. Otherwise, you start in January and then you go balls to the wall for like 4 to 8 weeks and then you don't work out the rest of the year. So let's not do that. Okay. So I hope this helps put a little bit, into perspective of maybe some of the traps you fall into and what you can do instead this year to make sure that you are creating a sustainable, healthy lifestyle while also enjoying the holidays without shame and without feeling guilty or without feeling like you need to compensate for it. And you can just be a human and you can still prioritize your health even if you're having, a bunch of pie. So happy holidays. I hope that you enjoy all of the food that this season has to offer and still are able to prioritize your health mentally, physically, and fill your tummy with all the good food. But, make sure that you're still prioritizing some fiber and eating breakfast and limiting your alcohol and all the things that actually benefit your health rather than just feeling like you need to starve yourself all day and then eat 3 times as much. So, hope that helps. Happy holidays. Talk to you next time. Thanks so much for being here, friends. If you enjoyed this episode, please screenshot and tag me over on Instagram or leave a 5-star review wherever you are listening from. Your support means the world to me and only helps me get the No BS news out to more people. If you're interested in working with me in nutrition or personal training, check out my programs and courses on my website at kaylamariefitness.com and on Instagram at kaylamari_fit. See you next week.